All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the budget work session for Monday, May 20th. We're now called to order continue our fiscal year 2025 budget planning. So with that, I'll turn it over to Town Administrator and Town Treasurer to move us through the presentation.
Vito, I'm thinking I'm just going to let you take it on today. And then, but is your thing not open? Do you want me to start with the presentation?
Yeah, keep it up on screen until I can get
I'll
to
let
it.
you do that. Probably nice.
Actually, no, I think I'm in. I think I'm in.
You're in?
Yeah.
I'll
Evening, everybody. Well, that's probably me because it always shows up when the mic open and turn it off. Thank you. Okay.
Do you want me to find the document? Are you okay?
I think I have it right now.
Okay.
Sorry, y'all. My computer always waits to update until right at the meeting. I'm not going to do it anytime before or after. It's like it's right when I need it only.
All right, I'm gonna get out then. I'll share with you whenever you want to share. So do you want me to do a filler?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So
Thank you.
the filler,
I'm sorry.
so the filler
Hate
is
that air.
The preamble.
The preamble is that today's presentation is our third in the series of budget sessions. Tonight, we're going to go through a couple things. The first item on the agenda is what we've already heard in sessions 1, 2, and 3. Again, we're going to go through the budget assumptions very quickly, and then we're going to review the public works budget, and then go to the overall summary page and some of the revenue options and then other needs. Also on the agenda tonight is the first reading of the ordinance, the proposed budget ordinance. Did you want me to read that into the record, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so I could do that while Vito's pulling everything up. First reading is today, May 20th, 2024. The second reading of this is June 10th, 2024. This is the proposed FY 2025 budget ordinance number 01-25. We have on it currently draft. An ordinance to levy real property and property taxes and appropriate and adopt the operating budget of the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg for fiscal year 2025, starting July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Be it enacted and ordained by the mayor and town council that pursuant to the authority contained in Article 501 of the town charter of the town of Bladensburg, the town budget for the fiscal year 2025 attached hereto, and be it further enacted and ordained that by the town council of Bladensburg that the single residential family property tax for fiscal year commencing July 1, 2024, and being set by as set 0.74 per $100 of full assessment of all taxable real property located within the town corporate limits of the town of Bladensburg, and be it further enacted and ordained that the town council of the town of Bladensburg commercial rate for property for the fiscal year July 1 be the same hereby set at 74 cents per 100 of the full value of the assessment on all taxable real property located within the town's corporate limits of the town of Bladensburg. Be it further enacted by the town council of the town of Bladensburg that apartment levy for the year commencing July 1, 2024 be that the same and set to 0.8 cents or 0.84 of the 100 of the full town assessment on taxable real property within the corporate limits of the town of Bladensburg, and be it further enacted and ordained that the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg personal property tax levy for that same year commencing July 1, 2024 be the same set by $0.209 per $100 in values, and be within the corporate limits besides the public utilities and railroads. Be it further enacted and ordained by the town council of the town of Bladensburg, a business personal property levy for public utilities and railroads for the year commencing July 1, 2024, and be the same set by 0.275 or $2.75 per 100 of value on all taxable business personal property within the corporate limits of the town of Bladensburg, and be further enacted by the mayor and town council that the general operating budget for the fiscal year 2025 will be attached and adopted. Be it further enacted and ordained that upon the adoption of the ordinance, the same authenticated signature of the mayor and the town clerk be recorded among the town books and kept for the purpose, and the certified copy of this ordinance be posted at the town hall in public view for a period not less than 10 days after its passage. Be it further enacted or ordained that this ordinance shall be in effect on the first day of July 2024. The requirement for the reading of this ordinance is 2 separate meetings. This was fulfilled on May 20th and on June 10th, 2024, introduced by the mayor and council of the town of Bladensburg at a special meeting on May 20th, 2024. And therefore, this ordinance will be prominently posted at town hall and available for public inspection. By order of the mayor and town council, attest Michelle Bailey Hedgepeth, acting town clerk, and Keisha James Mayor.
Thank you, Town Administrator Bailey Hedgepeth. So with that, Mr. Tonelli, we'll turn it back over to you.
Sure. Hello, everybody.
And do we have a copy of that in our packet or as well?
I didn't see one,
But
but
you need
Do you want mine?
I didn't know what you had to make copies. You didn't make copies of it.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'll do it
Okay,
right now.
sorry.
I didn't make the copies on Friday. I wasn't here, sorry. It's on my phone.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm gonna do it on the left here.
no worries.
I'll close the door so it doesn't make the noise. Like, okay.
So just so everybody remembers, that's the budget ordinance that takes 2 reads. So we read the draft tonight and then read it again on June 10th to be, and it can be amended and everything else. So at least it's, it's out there for the first time. And then we'll post that up outside as well, post it online. And that budget ordinance had the proposed increases to the, to the apartment taxes. Again, that can be amended or, it's just, I have to put the motion out there. And along with that, we're going to advertise a constant yield notice, which is not really constant yield notice. It's actually only a property tax increase notice in the Prince George's County Post. And that can be, that's just, again, as I said last time, putting that out there that, the mayor and council are considering a real property tax increase, and that's how it's worded. So let's go through the budget work session. I think you have it in your binders. Sorry about that. I think Michelle did ask me to put that motion in there, and I didn't.
I'm putting the town council meeting. You're missing the agenda as well?
I think they have
It's
it.
in the presentation.
Okay, good.
Okay. So
I
I'm
just-
gonna put the yours at the same time, so I know where we are. All right, so if we're ready to go, so you can see the agenda. This is going to be, this is what we've heard in our last 3 council work sessions. We're talking about the budget assumptions. What we haven't reviewed yet is a public works budget. We reviewed all the other budgets except for the public works budget. And also want to talk about the ARPA budget as well, the additions that we put in from last time that we discussed and what's remaining in the ARPA funds. And the budget summary page, which we've seen, and the revenue options, which, as we talked about, are revenue options are revenue enhancements. They are, increase in or possible increase in any tax rate. So go to the next tab. You can see this up here. Michelle, can you make this full screen?
Yeah. I will.
Okay. We can do that from my end.
Yeah, no, sorry.
So the use of the remaining ARPA funds. Okay, so these are the assumptions from council sessions 1, and you can flip through. Second session, we talked about the vehicle equipment replacement fund, and also we threw out there the proposed tax rates increases for railroad and public utility tax, and also an increase in tax for the apartments. And then what we heard in the last session, which was primarily what was going to change or what was going to be plugged in was the, and this is in your packet. Let me see. You go click 1, 2, or the ARPA funds. So we have $250,000 of estimated ARPA funds that are going to roll into FY25. And what we put in here, some of the things that we heard in the last session, the $25,000 of green initiatives, and that could capture, several things. We just tag that for now. Senior program at $25,000, Boys and Girls Club, I had my notes 25,000, and then I had in there some one time 30,000, but I put that in there as 25,000. And the food assistance of $30,000, and business development and redevelopment. I think we talked about a facade program or anything. And that is $75,000. So the total of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that we talked about is $180,000. What was left is $70,000 that is available to be used through December 31 of this year. So whether that has to be set right now, or it could be set through, next, first couple months next year to see what needs arise. Don't feel like you have to, go ahead and say, let's tag this now for something, because needs could arise as they had in the last couple of years that we've moved money around within the ARPA funding, the things that have more of a priority versus things that were not being utilized. So, so that's there. And everybody okay so far?
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going through the budget assumptions again. That is what we talked about, and that is the COLA and merit that's included, the capital projects, and the transfer from fund balance, which is the $708,000 transfer from fund balance. And that is, if you look at the graph at the bottom there, you can see our history of what our budgets have been and what we budgeted to pull from the fund balance every year. And you can see that's ranged between anywhere between, I want to say 4 and 8%, or 5 and 8%. And this year it's at 6%. I'm sorry, when I say this year, I mean this next budget year. So, I get my past and current future tenses, mixed up because, I'm usually within like 3 budget years at the same time, it seems like. So what we did, okay, cool. How you doing, Pernell? Thumbs up, okay. So what we left off when we're going through the department budgets, we finished up with public safety, and this is why I call the direct service budgets, that make up 86% of our deliverable service, I should say, inside our budget. And just want to talk about the staffing there. We had funding this year in ARPA of $45,000, and that covered actually it covered the COLA and merit increases of the current workers. What that didn't include is also the additional for the beautification team. Okay, so now the beautification team will be covered out of our general fund for this budget. And so we have a public works supervisor, 5 public work workers, and have been there for a part-time worker. Now that could be a mix, it could be like 2 part-time, 1 full-time, but we're trying to keep everybody fully staffed who's in there, who's on the team right now, including the part-time workers.
And right now we have 3 part-time people.
Mm-hmm. I was just playing around with the numbers here to see what works. So that's why I have the public works supervisor, the 5 full-time workers, and 1 part-time worker. I was trying to make it work in the budget. I'd rather than be, the 3 part-time be full-time. I just don't know if we have that right now. But we could. So it's if we talk about, revenue enhancements.
Sean, when it says, sorry, does not include the ARPA funding in the amount, are you talking about?
Yeah, we have ARPA funding for this year. And I didn't include any of the remaining ARPA funds for next year. It can be, we can spend it on staffing by December 31, and that would lessen the impact it would have on what we pull from the general fund, I'm sorry, from the fund balance.
So how does the council feel about that though? Because we have seen, excuse me, improvements from having the 3 part-time employees, or temporary employees, I guess is the right term, helping with beautification around the town. So the question is, do you think we should continue with what we're doing currently and fund it out of ARPA for the next fiscal year? Or to Mr. Tonelli's point, cut it back to 1 or 2 part-time people?
Hello,
Council members. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead. The ones that are already on staff?
There's 3 part-time individuals. We met them back in December at the Christmas event, but our holiday luncheon, but they've been supporting Purnell and his team with beautification. So all the projects around town, trash cleanup, they've had that additional help from those 3 people on a part-time basis, but still that's 3 additional bodies helping.
But do
So,
we really need that?
so I think that's a question for the town administrator in terms of the productivity or the projects accomplished.
Yeah, I mean,
But excuse me, Mrs. Billy Hitchman, before you answer that.
I wasn't going to, I was going to say Pernell was on point.
Oh, no, I want to hear, we need to stop all of this, whatever it is, please. You know, I would like that. I was just gonna say, I want to hear from you, but I was thinking as well, excuse me, one second, Mr. Purnell. I was just thinking as well, you know, guys being employed, you know, I'm thinking, how do we keep them employed, basically, as part-time employees? Yeah, so you know, that's kind of, so hopefully we do need them. And that's what I'm going to speak about.
Mr. Hall, I'm sorry, can you go ahead, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm dealing with some little aches and pains right now, but can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can, and appreciate you tuning in, knowing what you're going through right now.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. I'm just dedicated to the town of Bladensburg and to the mayor and council and public works department. I just to touch briefly on the part-time workers that we have. Just in my eyes and my assistant eyes, it's been tremendously helpful with these guys, and I would like, and I don't know, as Vito said, if it is anything in the budget that we can do for it. But the job tasks that we have, we beautifying a little bit more, and our range has broadened a little bit for just the 5 guys that we did have. And the reason why I'm saying it is because we are tackling a little bit more per week. During the summertime, a lot of stuff that goes on, but we have like 3 days of strictly grass cutting every week. And now, we have a lot more with safety. We getting another machine that's going to put us out on the roadways too. During crosswalks, we need every employee, which will be the total of 7. We need all hands on in some occasions throughout the summertime frequently, and that's I just want to touch a little bit on, are they helping or is it working? Are we completing job tasks? That's what I just want to touch on. I'm sorry.
No, Mr. Hall, that was helpful, hearing your perspective that the additional support is making a difference for your team. Also, because we're coming off of the winter months, spring is ending, we're moving into summer. And so that's why I wanted to just take a step back before we quickly moved on to put the question on the table. Because it's mowings, yes, that's a huge part of it. But a lot of the other things that are important need to happen, such as the temperature is going to be consistently at a certain level. That means the curbing needs to be redone. That takes an extensive amount of time for all the town streets that we have that require the repainting of the yellow curbs. And then that doesn't even include the other projects that may be going on. For example, when the county calls up and they're coming out to inspect storm drains, and that pulls you away from the hands-on work with the guys, because you've got to go around with the county to check out whatever storm drain complaints we've had due to summer storms or any other types of unexpected situations that arise. So
Yes, ma'am.
if that is what you're requesting, I would support that in trying to keep those 3 people on part-time to put more of an impact into, or to, I guess, multiply the impact that the Public Works Department is having with that additional support. But again, just was opening it up for council input and from the staff as well.
I was just gonna say, Mayor, the reason why I was gonna say anything is because our budget has staffing exactly the same. So
Mhm.
he'll have the 3 people that are currently working will have their jobs. We're 1 person understaffed with the regular part-time workers,
Right.
with a regular full-time worker. So that's the reason why 1 person would probably move up to become a full-time worker, and then the other 2 would remain 2 part-time. So you're actually gonna keep the same strength.
Okay.
So that's, I didn't want to I wanted Mr. Hall to sort of say what he was gonna say first before I said that. So I apologize.
No words, no apology necessary. But Mr. Hall, any other points you want to raise for consideration on that before we move to the next line item on Public Works?
No, I think that, we've, kind of spoken to let know it has made a big difference throughout our department. And not only that, we are entering some different agreements with State Highway that these guys, these extra set of hands right here has tremendously helped as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point to raise too. Because it's not just taking on that work, but it is going to be more frequent because we're able to observe when the maintenance needs to happen versus waiting for the state to get to it once every 4 or 5 months or however long. So that, yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay. Any other comments before we move on? It sounds like there's agreement to proceed. And then the second question on the table is it the will of the council that we fund this out of our operating budget or leverage the ARPA funds for this?
Mr. Vito,
I mean, my only concern is because I know that lighting project has been on the books for several years. We did get a DHCD extension for that project, but the funding they gave us is not sufficient. So if we're short and we don't get any other fundings, which we should, but if we don't, we may need that to go into that infrastructure project.
With the
And-
ARPA.
Yeah, with that ARPA funding to get the lights, improvement, at least the first phase of it, since we know it's more expensive than when we first went down this road since so many years have passed. So I would be inclined to do this out of our operating budget and not use ARPA, but again, if you guys feel differently, go with the majority here.
I was gonna ask Mr. Vito, what would be the difference, but then you already explained, so. So keeping the ARPA fund would be good, and reason.
Because we can play around with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 6 months of things that may arise that you have something to pull from. And again, that doesn't have to be tagged right now, but, there could be, we saw it all last year, last couple of years, things come up like, and ARPA is great for that, so it's, and again, just to, it could be 250,000, it could be 255, it could be 245,000, I'm not gonna know until after the year is done, and then I'm plugging 250 forward, so, it all depends how the dust settles at the end of June and everything, so,
But it sounds like, so we agree with continue with 3 part-time employees. And then the other area of agreement is to fund it out of the operating budget, and not ARPA.
It would be 2 part-time and one of the
Sorry.
unfilled, full-time that you would actually hire. We have
Okay.
existing with
it's
just one.
The 3 part time.
I'm just thinking, I know how it's listed there, but just in terms of the
Yeah.
actual people.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Reviewers might wanna know.
yeah, so the way that's listed in your presentation, it's actually like 7.25 employees, the mix, it's, the mix is, full-time versus part-time, what's in the budget is really 7.25 employees, which is the 3 part-time and the current full-time staffing. I just play around with the numbers here, not knowing where, where everybody would want to settle. So it's same numbers. So it's, except, the 3 part-time guys are in there at 30 hours a week, which is 3/4 of a full-time employee.
Thank you.
Yeah, I should clarify that. And some of the other key expenses, and I'll flip to the budget page as well, but just some of the key expenses here for Public Works. The main one is the trash pickup services, which is $250,000 as contracted. That doesn't include what they go around and pick up themselves. This is just contracted services.
What does it include?
That includes what we pay Bates for the twice a week trash pickup. Now, inside of it, and also the bulk trash pickup. Is that right, Pernell?
Yes, sir.
So-
Yes, sir. That's the bulk trash pickup, twice a week collection trash pickup, and also yard waste pickup.
Mm-hmm. And Pernell's team also do pickups outside of that as well, just to keep the town pristine.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. We pick up from the condos every Friday from Parkway and Bladensburg condominiums.
Got it. And then, Mr. Hall, with the composting, are you guys picking that up? Or is that through Eco City? Do they handle the collections?
It's actually a separate, yeah.
Oh, they have, it's a third party?
It's USDA contract.
Got it.
And then, but actually Bates says they actually are offering something similar, so it's something that we could actually look at with them
Okay,
to do as well.
got it. Okay.
And the utilities here are for the Boswick, the Public Works building, and that includes your electric, water and gas. Lighting, that's the town street lights. Somewhere I have written down, Sean, there's how many street lights in town? 494 street lights in town, I think, that we pay for. I think Sean said that once in passing in 2015, and I wrote that down, and that's what we had for.
Once we get 57th Avenue down, it'll go. At least 500.
500.
Right.
But hopefully those will be so efficient, we will not see any change in the bill.
Right.
So, and of course, the streetlight expenses are higher in winter time versus now. It drops off. Winter time, it goes to $5,000 to $6,000 a month. In the summertime, because of the, it's dark. If it's light so late, it's only like $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Grounds maintenance is pretty much everything. Minor street repairs, I call grounds maintenance. For like repairing potholes, even like the mulchings and plantings. Building maintenance, we kept that in there at $50,000. And that is to cover. We hope it's enough to cover, and it has been just about every year, I think, except for this year. Because of the old buildings. I know. I mean, it's if we have funds this year, we have to look at doing something with the roof maybe. So, and that could take up at least half of these funds. But historically, we've only spent between $10,000 and $20,000 a year, unless there is a major issue. If I keep that $50,000 line item in there, just in case there is a major issue because of the old buildings.
So in here with the serious leaks, I know the front was repaired by Public Works. That had a huge amount of damage. But then there's other areas, and then Chief, I don't know about on your side, is this gonna be enough if you have to talk roof replacement? Because it's not just the administrative side, it's the police side of the building too.
Pernell, you're on. Pernell,
Mr. Hall,
Oh,
just wanted to, yeah.
yes, ma'am. What was could you reinstate the question again, please? I'm sorry.
Yeah, It's okay. I know you guys have been patching a lot of the leaks with the roof, but I'm wondering if we get to the point in fiscal year 2025 where we have to replace the entire roof, is this amount going to cover that if it comes to it? Because I think what scares me is the fact that that cave-in occurred up front. And if that happens, say on Chief's side, it may be a point where we feel like, well, what's the point in just doing a patch? Just replace the whole thing.
I know, do
But
you want
yeah.
to talk about what we've done? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. That's, I mean, I really agree 100% what you're saying. You know, patchwork can only go for so far. And if through merit decision, I mean, council, whatever, if we plan on being in this building multiple years, I think something like that needs to be done. Okay, we've got, I think, quotes already for flat roof. I think one flat roof is right about 34. We give it 34 on the high side. Two flat roofs, we give it about, you know, almost 70, you know. So we're looking at 50 in the budget. And to be honest, to answer your question, no, ma'am, that's not enough.
What do you think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, if we, and I guess that's the question we have to
Hey.
answer.
What's that?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So what Mr. Hall, Vito was just saying, his roof is still leaking
Yeah.
periodically on his side. Chief, on your side and the annex.
So,
Please put trash
so
cans
here's
up on
the,
desk.
so what we've been trying to do, is that because of the amount, it needs to be formally bid.
Mhm.
And so we actually have a team that's gone through with Gordian, that has a general services contract for all of the, for the entire state. And we've actually brought them out this week. And I don't know if they went up to the roof, but they do roofing. So it's something that we can get the quotes for, because we've been just trying to deal with all of the different repairs. Just incrementally, because of the amount. But I think this year, you know, we spent we've almost spent the entire $50,000
Mhm.
just on all the other stuff we've been doing with the leaks. A lot of the repairs that we've just done to kind of fix these things. And then we had not just Public Works come out there, we did have a contractor, I believe Mr. Hall, come out there to fix the roof up on so we've got significant amounts of work to do. I think it's something, since it's a capital project, that you could look at as a capital, you know, as a capital one-time cost. And that could, you know, that could be just a transfer from, you know, from fund balance if you need to do that, or from ARPA, whichever way you want to do it, but it's a capital expense.
Yeah, Councilmember Brown was saying that may make sense for ARPA funds if everyone agrees, and then it doesn't hit our budget. But yeah, I mean, it's something that has to be done. You can't have this building operating and staff in offices where water's coming through the ceiling. Yeah, so I think however we need to reflect it in here, we should. And just know the source would be funding. And Mr. Hall, you said about 60 some odd thousand.
That's just for the flat roofs. Now the A-frame roof, what you're looking at in size is you know, probably about another 60,000. You have solar panels on there. All that stuff has to come off as well, you know, before you install a new roof.
Forgot about those things.
Yeah, yeah, I think that was when we talked about doing a full entire roof replacement because of the A-frame and because of the solar panels and because of the time frame, it might be best to fix the flat because we're having fewer leaks on the A-frame than we are if the intention is to knock down the building. So I think we need to be able to give you that and tell you how much the A-frame will cost, because I think the A-frame may cost you more and we aren't getting as much leaking because of the solar panels. Mr. Hall, am I correct about that issue, or is that, am I?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You're exactly correct. Yes, ma'am.
The A-frame is not as bad because of the solar panels themselves, from talking to Mr. Hall about it. So the three areas of the annex, the police department flat and the flat in the front. And so those are all part of what we had Gordian to kind of look at And I think that's what we're gonna bring to you as a package of like a one-time capital, because it's capital and I don't know if we can look at it as far as the capital expenses that we've got from the bond bill, because it's for renovation or existing, but if you tear this down, then you kind of do that. So it depends on how you want to look at it to get money spent. So we can look at some options for you if you want us to do that, because I think that's where I see it. It's a long-term issue. I mean, a midterm issue, not a long-term, it's a midterm issue.
And even the fund balance is another option too, just reserving ARPA for something else, knowing it's a short-term fix that'll stop the issues, but this building should be coming down in 2 to 3 years. So there's no sense in spending 6 figures on it. We don't have to. Sorry, go ahead, Councilman.
No, so I still do that.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
like a waste.
yeah. But it's like,
Yeah,
you need something now, right?
So it's getting money.
Well, but at the same token, it's not, because we have staff who are in the building
Right.
every day. And poor Mr. Vito, when I go in here and I look at this.
I'm happy to be here every day. I could do it
It's-
one week.
Whack-a-mole, but like in reverse, because using trash cans to capture water
Yeah.
as a. as
And that does
employers-
happen. So trash can here, then
Yeah.
leaks over here, so you move it. So we just gotta follow the leaks.
But as employers, we have,
Yeah.
but that's the
what we have to do
point.
something about it.
Exactly. So as the employers, we have a responsibility to provide clean and safe and habitable work conditions. And so if we can just fix the flats to eliminate the flooding, then I say, as long as everyone agrees, I think that's what we need to do. And then we're not spending higher amounts on something that's gonna be torn down in a couple of years. But at least it's keeping our staff in a decent condition, because we wouldn't want to work under those conditions. Okay, so sounds like there's agreement. We'll wait for the bids to come in, but just so it's captured in the budget, if we could just make the adjustment, so at least when we get this back,
Yeah.
it reflects that capital expenditure. And then would,
Fund it through ARPA or
But
fund
I
it through, I'm sorry, that's a
Yeah.
separate thing. Okay. I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
was gonna say
Okay.
separately, I would
Okay.
not use ARPA for
Okay.
this. Just because I know it's temporary and we're gonna have to take it down, and we want ARPA dollars to be for something
Yep.
that's long lasting. So for this, would you, as a council, be okay pulling it from the fund balance?
Are there any grants out there that we can get?
It's difficult, Councilman, I mean, if you're asking, it's difficult to get wear and tear. They want you to do a new, I think the closest that you could do is, because we have a renovation bond bill, we could say, but if we don't tear it down, I guess that would be our issue. But from the annex standpoint, because that can't be torn down, because of the way that we have it, that could be something that I could use our bond bill, because it's part of the town hall complex. So if we split up the functions, that could save me $30,000, and then I could put it into the annex. So things that I put into the annex, because it's not gonna eventually be torn down, can be used that way. So we've been keeping all our receipts on all the work that we've been doing. And so we can then kind of apply some of these as we apply back for our bond bill, so that we can start to spend out it. So what we'll do is we'll be smart with how we utilize the funding that we've got, and then kind of do it that way, and then bring it back to you guys to say, these will be, as the capital projects come to you, we can bring them to you with a funding source, so that we can say, this would be a transfer, this would be something else,
Right.
so that they'll come with the bid, like we've done before, so that you can say, hey, this is gonna come from this is where we're saying. So in some ways in your budget now, you don't have to make that decision. We should probably utilize our existing, the 50,000, and then make a transfer in, because that way, cash management wise, Vito can hold on to the funding in our reserve accounts to the very last minute.
And then when we do
And then
the
when you-
budget
when you do the
transfer, it's
transfer,
documented.
It comes
in
right out there, exactly. So
The other thing I was gonna mention, my only concern with looking for grant funding for this too, is we want to be timely with the repairs. And so trying to find funding and going through a whole cycle when they're working on bids now, theoretically, we could have RFP out and make a decision on it by late June, July, and move quickly into the work. Whereas if we're waiting on grant funding, my worry would be, could that be 6 months or a year later? So, yeah,
It's just,
Yeah.
it's bad.
I
especially
agree.
with those-
yeah, I agree with you, Councilmember.
From the fund balance, but just, I agree with that.
Mhm.
That's one.
Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, so next up was janitorial expenses.
Actually, let's go to the public works budget. I'm gonna tell you, go to, tab 2 of the binder,
Okay,
okay? And go down to like page 12. It's gonna be at the top section.
this is
No, the actual bonder.
section
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna share with you. You have it on there. I mean, this is the same thing I showed you, but there's just more detail into the budget. Let's get it right here. And I can put it up on screen. I don't know if you have that. That's the summary. Anyway, it's gonna be, yeah. Councilman Brown, I think you have it, right?
You said page 12?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it's up on screen. Just talk about the major line items so you can see it across and how it goes across from FY 23, 24, 25. You can see the compensation increases are the 15%, and that is because of the, the additional 3 part-time workers along with COLA merit. Let's see, fuel, for public works vehicles, the fuel has been pretty constant because those vehicles are all in town usage. That's easy to, it's, it's limited mileage. Vehicle repairs and maintenance, we've kept constant. Actually, with the newer fleet, this might be a little bit high, but I'd like to keep this in there just in case there is a, like a transmission replacement or something major, especially for like, the trucks and everything. A transmission replacement is not a $2,000 thing. It's a $6,000 to $8,000 line item.
Mr. Vito,
Mm-hmm.
before you get too far down, 6140.
Yeah.
Professional development, it's $2,000. Is that low or is that?
We haven't spent a lot on that. What we have done are legit trainings that, that they're sponsored through legit and also through, I think our workers' comp carrier as well. And they're no cost or small cost, like $25 per, attendee or something.
So is that something we should consider increasing the cost of professional?
And for now, we'll talk about that more. For now, I'm gonna defer this to you.
Yeah, we're looking at line 6140 for professional development and wanted to get your input here.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Well, what Vito was saying is, like it has been that same throughout because the training that we have get is through like Chesapeake Bay Trust, and I mean, other people, our entities, insurance agents. If some different type of training wants to go on, then I'm welcome, and the guys I'm quite sure be welcome to take it as well. But what type of training, or would y'all need or think that we need, or do we need to come back and think about the type of training and how much some of them trainings will be?
Yeah, I mean, what I would prefer to see is more staff taking advantage, not just of the required trainings that you have to deal with, say, waste removal or some things like that, but training on things like management skills, communication skills, training on, maybe there's some inexpensive course on learning Spanish or French, because you interact with the public on a regular basis, and even just having a basic understanding. We have a lot of French speaking African immigrants here. And so having that, or Spanish as a language. So that's kind of what I had in mind, but I
Yes,
open it
ma'am.
up to the council in case there's other ideas, because I think the goal here is for your staff to feel like we're investing in them professionally. So it's not just this certification that's required, but you take it a step further to actually build your professionalism of your team.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, right.
Yes, ma'am.
But council members, I mean, please share your thoughts as well.
I totally agree. In every environment, you want to see growth and development. So I would say to increase it a little bit as well, and have your workers get training in different areas. Because as the mayor says, we deal with the public every day. Some people don't know customer service. You might want to do a program, a training on that, and all the stuff that you mentioned as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman
Yes, ma'am.
Brown?
And also, Mr. Hall, I think it was a very good idea that you brought up in terms of maybe taking a look at some other types of training that you all may be interested in as well, because we, because it's not we're not dictating anything.
There's just ideas.
It's just right ideas. So I would definitely like to see that as well. You all coming back to the table and say, hey, these are some trainings that we would be interested in taking as well. It would be helpful for us.
Mayor, council, just from the standpoint of, right now with as far as administratively, I think when we were looking at, employees, we're looking at the clerk's position, and the fact that we really have some HR needs that even if once we hire the clerk, because the person will be dealing with a lot of our public records, some of the things that we do, but just because we're becoming more outward focused with our community outreach. I mean, the one thing that if you ask me what would make our jobs easier here is really having an HR function. I know for the chief, from the chief standpoint, we both kind of express this because we have a lot of employees that with police especially, I mean, they have more of a structure to do that. But what you're kind of asking for is something that, like, even if staff, we're just trying, we're swimming. I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, I feel like there's a lot, and and that if we were to be honest with what we need, I think before adding on, let's say, professional development for our staff, we really need someone to help to manage that. And I don't think we really asked for that from the admin side, because we didn't ask for that, because I've been more to try to figure out getting people out to the field. Like, I know the projects that you want done, and you need, we need staff on the ground. But if you ask for something, if we ask for something, and I don't have a place to put this person, again, I don't even have the space to put a person, but adding things like, timely evaluations, giving staff that kind of CSR kind of training. We're doing a lot with like a little, and we're trying with the employee development with, trying to have the employee committee doing grassroots kind of work, but it's tough without that person who can actually track training, track who's having customer service problems, kind of track some of those things, and we're losing that. Vito's gotten some help with Jessica trying to do some more of that with the administration of benefits, but I want to say that to before, the reason why we have a low number there is because I think that's been difficult to kind of track that in a good way. So I do get it, and I don't want to look like I don't want to say that, but I want to be honest with that, because I think that is it's not the fact that we don't want to have customer service, and we don't want to have communication skills or language classes. It just takes another person to administer that. And I think in some ways that it's important.
Yeah, I appreciate all that feedback. I was more so saying it in terms of, I'm an employee in Public Works. I find a session that's happening on a particular thing of interest. It's not on the town to organize it or sign me up for it. As an employee, I'm a responsible adult. I go to my supervisor. This is something I want to take that's going to help me do my job better. My supervisor approves it. Then it goes to the town administrator. And that way costs and all those things can be factored in. That's where my head was going, but I do appreciate that input, because it takes us back to the HR consultant, which we talked about a year or so ago. And I believe the money is still in the budget from when I was looking at it earlier that support. Yeah. But I think that's where we don't want this person to be here full time right now. We want the consultant so they don't have to be housed here. But if we can contract with them to, even if it's in this space that we're in right now, 3 days a week, to be coming in, helping audit our personnel records, get those up to par, assessing where we are in terms of training of staff, where we are in terms of all those HR functions that need to happen. And then also helping us step up our professionalism in terms of how we interface with our internal stakeholders. And so at open enrollment, as an example, someone who's here facilitating conversations so our staff really understand the medical benefits, the disability, long and short term, retirement, having that come off of your team's plate to having to fill those questions and orient people. But then also on a quarterly basis or whatever interval that we agree to, also offering additional training so they can be the point between legit to say, we need to have the sexual harassment prevention training in the year of 2024. The last time the town had it was at this point. And then tracking it and the papers that we have to sign off on, they're collecting and auditing. And if Keisha James didn't attend that session 1 and other staff, then they're coming back to say, we're offering it again at this point, but you shouldn't have to do that. Vito shouldn't have to do that. So I know it's one more thing, one more step having to bring on a consultant, but I don't think we're at the point where we can have a full-time HR person taking this on. I think we can build a case for it if we say we need a consultant 3 days a week for these tasks. And then if it turns out that that's not enough, then you guys come back to us and say, this is not enough and we need more. Because the person is contracted for 3 days, but they're having to stay for 12 hours a day on those 3 days because there's just so much that has to be done. So we're open to getting that support for you for sure.
Are you,
Oh, no, I mean, I'm Liz, it's just one more contract. It's just, it's contractors are great. And I already manage 4 different contractors right now, 3 or 4 with, I mean, Chief is managing John, but,
Right.
you know, sub-managing with the other people
Right.
that we deal with. And actually 5 with the engineering. It's just, it becomes a lot when you're doing that. And even with, dealing with his auditor contract, things like that. As much as it sounds like great, but bringing in a contractor, sometimes we'll put out the RFP, we'll do it again and try to get this, we'll get that out there. So,
But I want to just share, I get that and appreciate that because I know someone, in your case, that someone is you, has to be that primary point of contact in managing. But there are a number of incidents, even in Prince George's County, where other municipalities are doing it and it's working well. So I think we can tap those resources to ask for recommendations because we don't want someone who's going to come in and this is their first rodeo and you're doing a lot of micromanagement. That's not helpful to you at all. And we very much want to avoid
trying to
that.
burn you out?
Exactly. Exactly.
We don't want you to get tired.
And I think that would be, that would be very helpful, and like I said, because I do know that District Heights is one of the
That's
areas.
what I was thinking.
And I know, I understand with managing contracts and, and juggling and being the point of contact, managing multiple contracts. I mean, I think we do that in our daily as well. And not too overwhelmed. But I think the other part too is the clerk's position. So, because once that clerk comes in, that takes a lot off as well. Because we don't have a clerk right now, to do those tasks. But I think starting with that HR and we need to help with reaching out to some of the municipalities. We're already in the district kind of says it, and so that'll kind of help as well. But I think it would. I think it would still be helpful because at least we're starting somewhere.
Are you, go ahead, Councilwoman, it's fine.
I mean, I'm listening to what Michelle said, and I'm 100% saying the same thing. We need an HR person. I can't even tell you how bad we need it and how to get it, who have it. You need an HR. It has nothing to do with clerk. That position stands just where it is, where if someone have a problem, they can go to the H&R, not to Michelle, not to a clerk. You go to the H&R and that's privately done. Because you see a lot of things. I mean, we witness a lot of things here when with the touching, the hugging, you're not supposed to do that because you can be sued. And it's a lot of that going on, you know. Way too much. But no, and I understand what she's saying, but I mean, what you said, the sexual harassment, it's needed. The HR, I mean, all around the board, it's needed. But what Pernell was saying is if he can go to his books or whatever, to see what his people need, he can make that, because that's a small charge. But the HR, you really need that here for anywhere you go, because you see it.
Yeah.
You can't.
And that's a fair point, Councilmember Blunt, because it makes you think when we started talking about this a few years ago, we've grown since then.
Oh, yes.
So does the employee head count that we're at, not talking about temporary support, does it now constitute, yes, we need an HR director, and we just put that in the budget, and we'll work out space, because we're gonna have to figure that out in terms of where they can put them, because they do need to be in a private office. They're maintaining personnel records. Those need to be secured. I don't think it's impossible to come up. Public Works and their skill set, the carpenters, they can build something somewhere. That's less of an issue for me in terms of just really understanding if we all agree that we're at that point where we need to have someone full time.
Yeah.
Because it's just alone, I just took, Grace Hill, which is sexual harassment on the workplace. And it's funny because I play with Miss Shirley and them all the time, saying best friend.
Right.
And another resident got offended because, she just talked to her, so I have no more best friends. Because it can look perceived that I'm showing her more favor too, and I can't do it anymore. So it's like, God, where's the fun going? But if you look at it, if someone come and hug you, you can't do that because that person can say, I'm gonna sue you because you touched me. It was just a hug. It can't be just a hug anymore. And it's becoming very, very real in the workplace.
And also that will help to alleviate the stress, so Michelle can focus on her stuff.
No, I think that we
she
can
does.
definitely contact District Heights. How about we start with District Heights. I appreciate it, Councilwoman, from a full-time stand perspective, but I'll contact District Heights. I'll look up the stuff to figure out where they got their stuff. I know that Mr. Street is the town manager in District Heights, and he's been very responsive before. So I'll email him in the morning and figure out who they're using. I know there are some things, and we'll put out an RFP. We've got other RFPs out. We're redoing the engineering contract, which needs to be updated. So they can both go in for the 25 fiscal year and try to get those together. I think at this point, we're, just from the standpoint of the clerk, I do understand that needs to be rehired. We're probably going to repost that again in the next month. I just didn't want to wait. I wanted to wait a couple months before reposting it. So it'll be reposted, and that will hopefully alleviate some things for us. But we are at the level with the amount of staffing that police has to have a person probably maybe 3 to 4 days a week. Let's just say that right now, because of the amount of things that we could utilize from the standpoint of, just record keeping and helping everyone to make sure that we're doing that. Chief takes a lot on with his people, and they do a lot of good work internally, and I have to commend them for that.
Yeah, but at the same time, some of that really it would fall on the HR representative and therefore take pressure off your command staff and yourself to have that person. So if we could just get the consultant set in FY 2025 and just get things on track.
Yeah, and I think, and as you said, Mayor, we definitely acknowledge it, and I think Mrs. Belly Hedgepeth, what kind of happened was with us going through the TA and that stuff, and then things happened, and we weren't able to bring that person on before.
Right.
And to like on a new.
We had to prioritize, and that was important, but we needed a town administrator more because of not having a consistent one since 2020. So, that was on us. I wish we could have had that in place to make your load easier when you got here. So that's on us, but okay, got it.
But then back to the professional development, I still think that we can consider looking at increasing that professional
Much more
development
money in there.
where it doesn't, and they can come up with some trainings or something that they may want to take, but but as long as that it's not a strain on the, but even something like with the MML, and, you know, and they probably have those types of conferences and stuff for public works and stuff where they can attend those. you know, type of
APWA
conferences as
is
well.
actually a really good organization, the American Public Works Association.
Mhm.
And I know that they had some stuff at College Park back before, and they would do some trainings.
Mhm.
So, and we have a good relationship with Hyattsville and College Park, and I'm sure that those will be some good opportunities for APWA for them. So, and even Mr. Hall joining as a membership,
Mhm.
that would be helpful. So we definitely hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
What do you think about that, Mr. Hall?
Yes, ma'am. All of it. I mean, everybody hit a certain point, and on everything, everything was great. There was no wrong answers or anything on that. You know, opportunities and training is good every year. I know Chief is very, very spectacular on it, and very, very, you know, go digger on that one. So I agree. And what Mayor said, you know, in the meantime, I can be doing my due diligence and try to get some of these classes and get to some of these guys in these classes too as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Okay, Mr. Tonelli, back to you. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So we talked about again, we're on this page 12 here, just running down. Talked about the street lights, sanitation contract. Talked about landfill fees. This is for what we pay to dump at the landfill for like various weekly cleanups. And actually, what Purnell's team have done, we looked at the landfill fees, and they charge a minimum of 1 ton, which is $250 per load. And back in the past, we're doing multiple trips, you know, the trucks are full of like, you know, 4 ton, half ton. So what they've been really good at is holding off and keeping the trucks fully loaded. So they pay for that 1 ton, you know, instead of making multiple trips and getting like, it's, you know, for like a, you know, for a $250 load for smaller trips, smaller loads, you could end up spending like $1,000, you know, versus just, you know, filling the truck up to max capacity and then going to the dump. Building supplies, these are consumables, you know, your cleaning supplies, the paper goods, and everything else. Janitorial services, we have that for bid right now. We'll see how that comes in.
Maybe higher,
Hmm.
a little bit.
A little bit higher. This might be a 35, maybe 36, 38, 40,
36.
36,000. So, but those are coming in right now.
Excuse me, Mr. Vito, janitorial, I know what janitorial is.
Yeah, no, but there's more detail behind that, of course.
So is it the cleaning of our buildings, or, I mean?
Correct.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's the cleaning of all the buildings.
Mhm.
And they come 5 days a week.
5 days a week.
Mhm.
The police department, actually, we could probably use some services like trash being pulled 7, but we're doing 5. It's actually, yeah, and we looked at some new people.
So, Mr. Vito, so would it be under public works if it's janitorial? Why is the expense totally under public works if it's the janitorial is?
It's been historically under Public Works, but it's a Public Works contract, so they oversee it. So that's why it was originally put in Public Works, and try to keep things consistent throughout the years. We just kept it in Public Works. That's kind of like with the transportation services had been under the TA budget for years. You know, instead, you know, I think there's a question like 3 weeks ago of like that should be really mayor and council item, but it's been under the TA budget for, you know, just try to keep things consistent year after year. But you know, to split that up, you know, split that up between like, you know, town hall and police department and everything. We could do that, but the way the bids are, I think it's just like a lump sum service. You know, I mean, we could do it 2/3 to police department, 1/3 to town or something. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's a good question.
Michelle.
Public.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, we're.
Oh, we got 6:30. Okay, time check. Okay,
Okay,
sorry.
so
And then I just go down, travel. I mean, that can be, looked at along with professional development to see, but that includes, travels, per diem, lodgings, and I'll talk with Mr. Hall about that, if that needs to be
Right.
increased, if we're increasing professional development. And shop supplies or shop consumables, actually, that's been going down. And that is really because that's really your small stuff that is, most of that is charged to like equipment maintenance or equipment repair. That's a very small line item, and really that could go away and just be part of the, either the building supplies or, your, yeah, exactly, equipment maintenance, because all that is, really for maintenance related functions. The last thing that I think we bought some cabinets out of that, that's just like a miscellaneous, and the utilities, as I talked about, going down, and we just have a hold for $150,000 for street repairs out highway user funds versus what's going to be used out there versus, what we get CDBG funding for. We'll wait and see, but we do have funding there for any major street and road repairs, either through, I think, got CDBG already for, yeah. So that's just the detail of Public Works, and as you can see, what, everything we talked about, the budget's basically the same as this current year, just because of the variances on line items and everything. But that's it for Public Works. Let me see what else I have on if there's any more questions. I'm gonna go back to the last 20 minutes. One second. I see it different on here versus, okay. So let's go through the budget presentation again. Just touch on real quick some of the things that we talked about, and this is picking back up at, going back to, sorry, I don't have these numbered on the budget presentation. This page 11. All right, thank you. Thanks, Mayor. That's our blunt we have, looks like this. Turn around. Keep going a couple more pages. There you are. Yep.
Thank you.
No problem. Sean, looks like this. Yeah. Okay, cool. Quick, just make sure everybody's on the same page, I got to use that. What we talked about is increasing the railroad and the public utility tax from $2.09 per hundred assessed value to $2.75. And this just is for just for the utilities and the railroad, business personal property. This doesn't take a council action. This is just a town tax levy only, or a municipal levy only that doesn't go through the county or the state. We receive the assessments from the state, and pretty much, their issue is, this is assessments, you do with them as, for the business personal property tax as you see fit. Now, we did talk about what we just talked about go to the next page, what we talked about in the budget ordinance and what we're advertising for as a consideration of the tax increase is the apartments. And we just changed it to apartments instead of multifamily units. Apartment sounds cleaner. I think the mayor and council like that better. It doesn't sound as confusing as, I think it says like a townhouse or something. It sounds, that could be misunderstood with that. So we're looking at anywhere between a 6 to 11 cent increase there, going from 74 cents per hundred to either 80 or 85 cents per 100. And what does that mean? Down there at the bottom, let's go to the next page. And to $1. I can tell you in a second. 1 second. It'll actually take me 1 minute. Just play around with it. Good question.
Pulling it up, Mr. Tinelli, I did appreciate you noting the average cost per apartment
Mhm.
from the council discussion last week on Monday, just so we could put it into context.
Yeah, and that's based on 3,500 apartments in town. Is that correct, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah, roughly. Okay, Councilor, you wanted to know what this would be? Because just in case somebody asked me, I'd have that up. Problem with Michelle, what is it?
Yeah, I'm trying to do it in my
I
head.
know you are.
He's like, I was like.
And Michelle's usually always right too. She'll tell me now, I'm like, no, it's not. I go back up to 20 minutes, do it down to the penny, I'm like, some of, so, but.
At 85, but so if you add another 10 cents, that would be 200, you just do 210, so.
It'd be close.
So 500,000.
No, it would go up to, let me see if I did this right. Hold on.
It's 10 cents.
The total tax, yes, the total taxes, but the increase over what we currently are doing would be 382,000. So I have on there right now, let me go back to it, 217,000, it would go up to 381. So what's that really quick? $165,000 additional. Yeah, you did in your head. Okay, yeah, no, she's.
You know, I was thinking about four. I was thinking about $400,000.
Yeah, Michelle, about 380, yeah, right. I know.
And I know from the last week, when we did discuss it, we were talking about doing the smaller amount and not creating a larger jump for the apartment, since this would be our first time doing this. So the question is there still agreement from the council that if we move in this direction, option 1 would be more favorable? Again, understanding we don't have to decide tonight because we still have to have the constant yield hearing at our next council meeting.
I mean, my question towards this was, I just wanted to play around with the number to see the difference. So my option 1 is still a yes for me, but I just wanted to see.
Yeah, the difference in the assessment.
So if that's the, if we do option 1 and the increase on the utilities and railroad assessment, that's roughly $200,000. That would lessen what would be needed as a draw from the fund balance. So instead of pulling 700,000 from the fund balance, if these do go through or some sort of mix of this, the draw from fund balance would be down to $500,000, which is probably about a 4% instead of a 6%. That would balance.
And that's what I was thinking about going with option 1, because it is the first time. We don't want to shock the owners, but also the adjustments we talked about with Public Works as an example. The cost of the additional support could be pulled from this increased revenue. So we wouldn't have to pull it from the fund balance. We'd be generating the revenue to cover the additional public works support and still would have some left over for other service needs. So again, we're not voting on it tonight, but just wanted to see how folks were feeling about it.
And let's put that out there.
Okay, thank you.
So it's, what else we have here? And we still have some other needs as well that, we talked about, that funding for vehicle equipment replacement fund, additional space for public work. For public safety. We have in there $50,000. $35,000 recurring, but we would think it would need $15,000 of immediate renovation to make it a available space, a public works space, because it's not going to be move in. We're not assuming move in condition. You're gonna have to put some money into it to make it usable for public safety. I keep saying public works, I'm sorry, I meant public safety.
And Chief, for that, can you talk a little bit more about it? I can't recall if we discussed it when we went through the public safety budget, the public safety rental space.
So are you referring to the,
The,
which space are you talking?
yeah, under other needs, Chief, on the screen, Mr. Snelly has public safety rental space.
What's not in the budget right now? Chief?
Okay.
It's under-
Yeah, I see the 50,000.
Mhm.
So are we talking, I just want to make sure we talking about the same thing because we talk about different rental.
Yeah, well, I think that it's the concept, Chief, I think, if I, to make sure that what the concept or what the issue is that depending on what space that we find, there could be more of an investment in getting it up to par. But there is a need, and I think that's what she wants you to talk about is the need that you have. In
Right,
regards
so I just want to be clear that we weren't talking about specific space.
No,
No.
That you and I discussed.
Right,
Okay, so yes, so we find a location like across the street where there will be an additional, because it won't be turnkey. So we won't just go in, the spaces that we looked at definitely would require at least 50,000 to upgrade them. And that will house our, that team, which currently they have no place. They've been working between Annex and Empty Desk and CID, just swapping out for the three of them. So it would help the CID people as well as the, depending on the size of. Additionally, we need space for evidence processing. Currently, we don't have any space for that besides the annex. And we want to also, we need a space where we can preserve the integrity of the evidence, fingerprints, trace evidence, hairs and things like that. So we need a good sanitized place where we can process evidence properly to maintain the integrity of it. So if we find this place, none of them are going to be turnkey. So we would have to have those additional funds for renovation.
Got it. And so this would be outside of the need where the storage is across the street where evidence is currently kept?
Yes, because we can't process evidence, and that's just a
Okay.
storage area.
Okay.
and we estimate, Chief, that you said about 2,500 square feet for office space, and then some larger space for evidence. We did look at something in regards to maybe building, like I say, a coal barn or something that's next to the public works. That again is something that we'll bring to the council if we do look at something like that, because what my thought is, again, that could be part of a municipal facilities bond bill. So we'll kind of come up with something that would help you to look at it in a couple of different ways. But we want to put this out here. I think the recurring need for rental space for the chief is real. And I think that he needs space for his team to function. I think we made a lot of improvements to the spaces that we have, but we can't improve our way out of
What we have.
what we have. Does that make sense?
Okay. Any questions from the council there? And then, so I'm assuming if the rental does occur, then we'd also be looking at additional costs for outfitting the space with all of the equipment needs. So would that be resources, or would those be resources we could pull from speed camera or red light camera funds to get those items for the SAT team's office and the evidence processing?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the goal.
Okay. Got it.
And I think the one that's on here is Public Works Director, just because I just want to, I don't want to
Yeah.
ignore it.
No,
Just want to.
Yeah, we need it.
Okay.
Again, we're only working with them,
Right.
so.
Right. No, it's true.
Yeah, it's, yes, we do have these needs and it's eventually gonna happen, but right now, we're looking at what our funding is too,
Mhm.
so. But that's also important, what we talked about, as, as a town could grow or something, so.
So we can get grants for those, for that,
For which one?
for rental space for evidence.
I don't know that you can get a grant for the rental space. If you're purchasing a building, I know there's state funding out there that can help with things like that where you're acquiring real estate, but not so much from.
Yeah, if we were building, let's say if we built an extra space where we are, or we built a, we improved a space, which is what we sort of talked about, we'll be able to bring you back that with the bond bill funding that we're using, or that we can ask for funding because of that, for that particular need. So those are ways to fund that.
You got a great application. You got some grant.
Mr. Tinelli,
So,
about everything?
Yeah, so let's talk about the next steps. On the budget calendar, we have a tentative session number 4. I mean, we've heard quite a few things here, to come back 2 Mondays from now, which is a week prior to our June 10th mayor and council meeting as well when it's adopted. So again, that was a tentative date if needed. So,
But we really haven't made any major modifications. So
no, but just
I mean, do you guys
touch and feel it again.
feel that we need to have an additional meeting before June 10th? Because we'll discuss it again in the work session
Mhm.
and have opportunities for any final input in case we missed anything, but it should be pretty tight at that point. We've gone through everything, every single department, every single line item at this point.
I don't know, I think that, for the public, maybe we have it, it may not be as long. But the session may not be as long because we could, we go through, because we have.
So just hold the meeting and go back through everything.
Yes.
The only question, I'm sorry,
It's a little,
June 3rd, the only issue that we have is that the
I was
American Bloom people
sorry.
are here that day. We've always had it on our calendar,
Right.
but they are here that night. And
Right about that.
the council was going on the boat cruise, but we can change that if that needs to be. So I have it tentatively that we could change it for that because when I saw it on here, I just wanted to mention that's the only thing that's going on that night, but.
American Bloom is that night.
Yeah,
But I'm just thinking of it in terms of, so if we step back, we first met about the budget. I know this is meeting 4, but I feel like this has been more than our 4th meeting about the budget.
Yes.
So when you look at the overall calendar, and I'm sorry, I don't have it in.
I'm
front
pulling
of
up right now.
Okay.
I just thought. You keep talking then. So
Yeah, no, I
I'm
just-
sorry.
me. I'm gonna take a look.
Actually, I
at-
have it actually. Hold on 1 second, everybody. I gotta reshare this. Let me stop this one.
does today count because of the meeting for the tax rate hearing? We don't have to do a separate tax rate hearing anymore, right? Because we did the meeting today.
Yeah. Okay, so
We took care
that
of
meeting, yeah.
So you don't have that, there's a box there that said the 28th or the 3rd. You've done the tax rate hearing and it was posted as a hearing. See, posted. So just letting you know.
Okay, here it is.
It's weird because you have to stop sharing, bring up the next thing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna I gotta blow this up because it's way too small for my sleeve. So here's the original budget calendar. We talked in March about the budget priorities. That's still a little small here. But we actually didn't, we introduced the draft budget April the 8th, budget work session 1 on April 22nd, budget work session 2, April 29th, budget work session 3 was actually the work session at the May 13th meeting. And then we're here now at the 20th. And you can see where we are now. So this week is actually probably difficult. This last week in May, is that correct, Michelle? That would be,
I think because Councilwoman has the.
yes, you already have your mental health awareness event.
So the 28th is the next available date, if coming back after the council wanted to do one on the 28th. That you could do on the 28th on the Tuesday. That's if anybody wants to do that.
Or said, or just said the mayor, talk about again the work session that was already on the calendar, talk about the work session on the 10th.
Because I'm just thinking in terms of getting more people out, I don't want to create another meeting for the sake of meeting. This is the 5th one now in the budget. And so the June 3rd would be really the 6th meeting. And then we'll have the work session on the 10th, discuss it again in work session, and then vote again. So that's where I'm going with it. Does the group feel we need to meet again on this before the work session? I see.
I don't think so.
Okay, Councilmember, Councilmember Dixon.
Can you come back to me?
Councilmember Brown. Okay. So it sounds like we're in agreement.
I think,
Well,
I will say,
go back.
I will submit, but I think, as we look over everything, if we have any other questions between now and then, we can just come back and pose any questions to Mr. Vito.
I agree with you. Yeah. And that way we pose our questions to Mr. Tonelli in advance, and then at the work session, we can talk through them. I met with Mr. Tonelli and noticed this, and this. This is what was, what the answer was or the response is. That way we keep everybody informed.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I think we have to.
And then there's a lot going on in the 3rd, American Balloon will be here and other things going on. So, okay.
Okay, so Mr. Tonelli, I think that is it, but we'll reach out individually if we have additional questions that we need to run by you in preparation for the June 10th meeting. But right now, it looks like we're in really good shape. So we appreciate all the help because I know Mr. Tonelli and Mrs. Bailey Hedgepeth put a lot of time into this, but to all the department heads, Mr.
Yeah, it's
Hall,
all of us. It's all
Mr.
of us.
Reinhardt,
Yeah.
Chief Collington, I know it takes a lot of time going through the line items and thinking through everything. So we appreciate all of the work you put into this.
Yeah.
So with that, I will now call for a motion to adjourn tonight's budget work session.
So.
Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember McBride. Any comments, questions, or clarifications? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. We're adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thanks for now.
Thanks for now.